Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto was the new Raikage. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel. After watching this video, don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description down below. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. And also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. Last time on Raikage. Very well, I will allow you all to go on the mission and you will leave tomorrow morning, but I want to make something clear. Should the situation turn against you or it seems hopeless, then you are to leave and head back to the village. I don't want to lose any of you since Konoha needs all its shinobis if we are to survive this war, said Tsunade, in which they all nodded in understanding. If that is all, then this meeting is over, stated Tsunade, in which everyone began to leave and began to discuss the mission. 2 days later at the Great Naruto Bridge. After 2 days of traveling, the teams that were sent to help defend Nami no Kuni, Wave Country, from the Kiri invasion arrived at the Great Naruto Bridge. The group that was sent to defend Nami no Kuni consisted of 24 shinobis. Originally only 21 shinobis were going to be sent, but Danzo insisted that he sent Sasuke and 2 of his routines to assist as well, stating that they make sure that Kiri doesn't get a foothold to attack Konoha. Sasuke wore a sleeveless high-collar black shirt, with a smaller version of the Uchiha crest on his collar and a black cloak over it. He also wore black pants and his wrists were bandaged with arm guards over them and carried a Chikudo sword on his lower back. The other routines wore standard ANBU outfits. Kakashi was made the commander of the group since he had seniority, and he was the commander that led the last shinobi team to be in Nami no Kuni. The group was set into 7 different teams, where 3 teams were made up of 4 members on each team, while the other 4 teams were made up of 3 members on each team with a team leader on each of the 7 teams. The teams were as followed. Team Kurenai, which contained Kurenai, Hinata, Kiba and Shino. Team Yamato, which contained Yamato, Konohamaru, Moegi and Udan. Team Guy, which contained Guy, Lee, Neji. Team Kakashi, which contained Kakashi, Sakura, Sai. Team Tenten, which contained Tenten, Wolf, Tiger, Bird, the team that Tenten in charge of an ANBU division. Team Shikamaru, which contained Shikamaru, Ino and Choji. Team Sasuke, which contained Sasuke and 2 of Danzo routines, Badger and Boar. When they arrived at the Great Naruto Bridge, they saw a large stone monument at the front of the bridge. On it said, "The Great Naruto Bridge. This bridge is dedicated to the hero of Wave, who helped its people regain their freedom and their courage." Huh! So they named the bridge after him. If you ask me, they wasted naming it after a dead loser, scoffed Sasuke. This got many anger glares from most of the others, which he just ignored. When they began to cross the bridge, it did not take them long to reach the other end of the bridge, where when they did, they were met by about 4 samurai and 20 armed men who were clearly militia. Since they had standard weapons for warriors, but didn't wear any armor or uniforms that warriors of a country would normally have, since they just worn typical civilian clothes. The samurai themselves were completely different from the militia. The samurai wore a light blue-colored heavy-plated armor as well as helmets with face masks on them. The leader of the samurai team could clearly be told by his helmet, since the leader's helmet had a horn on either side of his head. "Halt, who goes there? Identify yourselves," called out the leader of the samurai team. "My name is Hatake Kakashi. I'm a shinobi of Konoha, as are my comrades here," answered Kakashi as he stepped out forward in front of the company. "Konoha shinobis are not welcome here, so I suggest that you turn around and leave," said the leader of the samurai team, at which the other samurais and the militia guards pointed their weapons forward at the Konoha group to clearly show that they were unwelcome here. "Please, we mean your country no harm. We are here to help you since we know that your country is about to be invaded by shinobis from Kirigakure. We wish only to help you, that is all," said Hinata as she stood forward. After a minute or so, the leader of the samurai team placed his katana back into his sheath and signaled to the other samurais and the militia guards to stand down, which they did, although reluctantly. He then called one of the militia guards over to him and whispered to him, or a few seconds after which the man then nodded and ran off to the village. "You will wait here until he returns," spoke the leader of the samurai team. Kakashi and the others all nodded in understanding. After a few more minutes, the man returned with 20 more samurai and about 50 more militia men, all of which were armed with swords, katanas, spears, axes, and other weapons. You will come with us to our captain's tent where my men and I will escort you. Should you try anything, you will be killed on the spot. Is that clear? Spoke the leader of the samurai group with authority. We understand, spoke Kakashi, since although he doubted any of the militiamen could harm them, the samurai were a different story. Although samurai were mainly found in Tetsu-no-Kuni, Iron Country, many could still be found in the royal courts of daimyos or their armies in other countries. Since the daimyos of other countries would often send large groups of young men or boys to Tetsu-no-Kuni to be trained as samurai, and act as their personal guards, or their elite forces in their armies. Kakashi had limited experience with samurai, where he either met one or two in battle when on missions, or witnessed them in battle as they fought against other enemies. Even from the limited experience he had fighting with or against samurai, he knew that they were dangerous enemies to have in battle, where they could give many members in his group trouble, including himself. Plus, there was a good chance there were more samurais than the ones with them at their camp. Soon enough, they reached the camp, where they saw many more men armed in the camp. Although they saw some more samurai in the camp, which confirmed Kakashi's suspicions, there were a lot more militiamen there. As they walked through the camp, many in the Konoha group noticed the dark glares, scowls, and hateful looks that most of the men gave them once they saw the leaf symbols on their headbands or armbands. I guess the people here are still angry at us for what happened to Naruto, thought Sakura sadly. Not that she blamed any of them for being angry at them, since it was Konoha's fault that he had a hard life and died later on, and she knew she was partly responsible for Naruto's hard life. When they arrived at a tent that was larger than the others' tents around it, the Konoha group knew that this was the tent for the commander of the forces of Nami no Kuni. You will wait here, ordered the leader of the samurai team at the bridge, after which he then went into the tent. After a minute or so, the leader of the samurai team came out of the tent and was followed by another samurai who wore the same kind of heavy-plated armor as all the other samurai, and wore the same kind of helmet that the leader of the samurai team at the bridge wore, and had a mask covering his face. The only thing different about him was that his armor was a dark navy blue color with a gold trim at the edges of his armor instead of just light blue color like the rest of the samurai's armors. Also, the new samurai wore an black cloak that went down to his knees. I'm the commander of Wave Defense Forces here, as well as the captain of the Samurai of Wave. What are you, Konoha ninjas, doing here? We told you all 10 years ago that none of you were welcome in our country, spoke the samurai captain. We are not here to cause any trouble, Captain. We're here to help you defend your country, since we know that an invasion force from Kiri will arrive here soon, said Kakashi. More like helping yourselves, answered the captain, which got surprised and confused looks from several of the Konohanins. We aren't the simple-minded fools that you think we are, Hatake Kakashi. We know all about your war with Oto, Iwa, Kiri, Kusa, and the Hanya clan, and how your village and your ally Suna are outnumbered. We also know that the reason why Kiri is invading us is because our country is a perfect base point for them to launch land-based attacks against your village. Hence, the only reason why we are being invaded is because of your village and its war. And the only reason you are coming to help is because this invasion is threatening your village, snarled the samurai captain. Now, Captain, please, that is a bit unfair, said Kakashi, since things were not going the way he had hoped, although it was not unexpected due to the poor relationship between their village and Nami no Kuni. Unfair? You dare complain about being unfair? Rounded the captain angrily. You speak of being unfair. How is the fact the full-grown men and women attack and beat up an innocent child for something that was done to him when he was just born called being fair? How is the fact that parents tell their children to pick on and make fun on said child and then be rewarded for it called being fair? How is it that a loyal young ninja who also happens to be a hero of this country, as well as several others, being banished from his village for simply accomplishing his mission and for using a power that was forced on him when he was just born called being fair? You speak as if your village was innocent of those things and that your village really was the place that you claim to be. A place where everyone is equal and is treated fairly and protected and treated like family. We all know that's a lie, as you all know, since your village is no better than some of the other villages that throw away their shinobis like trash, spoke the captain coldly, at which many of the Konohanins cringed, with the exception of Sasuke and the Rutenins, who did not care, as well as Sai, since he did noting to Naruto nor knew him. No, I'm wrong, spoke the captain again. Konoha is worse than those villages because at least those villages are honest about themselves. Konoha hides behind a veil of nobility, and created a facade of how everyone is treated like family and friends. But in the end they are no better than the worst type of scum at the way they treat certain people like our hero Naruto. At this many members of the group could not help but wince at the coldness and harsh truth of the captain's words and lower their heads in shame. Kakashi, who still had his head lowered down in shame, then decided to speak. Although it is true that our village has shamed itself greatly in recent years, and that we are here to protect your country for the reasons that you said, it still does not change the fact that we are here to help you. We do not want your help from you or your village. Now leave, said the captain, but before he could finish speaking another voice spoke out from inside the tent. That's enough, at which another man came out of the tent, in which Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke quickly recognized the man as Tazuna, the old drunken bridge builder that they had protected during their mission in Nami no Kuni. Although despite the fact that Tazuna had grown slightly older looking, with more wrinkles on his face, he still looked the same when they last saw him. Why? What I said is true after all we heard all about and what they did as well as the rest of their people did to Inai-sama, spoke the samurai captain angrily. True, but not all of them are reasonable. Remember the Kazekage told you that not everyone treated Naruto badly. There were still some that were on his side and did not turn their backs on him. Do not let your anger cloud your judgments. Besides, most of the people in this group were among the minority that did not turn against him, said Tazuna, at which Ino, Sakura and Kakashi lowered their heads since they knew they weren't among that minority of people after what they did to Naruto. Now take off that helmet of yours, there's no need for you to wear it, spoke Tazuna again to the samurai captain, at which the samurai captain sighed angrily but complied, where when he took his helmet off, when he did, the Konoha group saw that the samurai captain was a young man who looked to be about 18 years of age. The young man had black shoulder-length hair and black eyes. This of course surprised some of the more senior shinobis as well as some of the younger shinobis as well, since they knew that to reach the rank of captain, whether it be shinobi or samurai at such a young age, was very rare to happen. Hence it showed that the young man must be strong and highly skilled to reach this level at his age. Although as surprised as most of the Konohanins were, none were more surprised than Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke were right now, because it took them a few seconds to realize who the young was. Inari? Shouted a surprised Sakura, to which the young man just nodded. You're the commander of the defense forces here? Asked Sakura in disbelief, since she could not believe that the small little boy who used to cry out about there being no hope, and had told them once that they were going to be all killed by Gato during their last mission here, was now the commander of Wave Defense Forces and the leader of the samurai in Wave. Yes, I am, answered Inari neutrally. Well, now isn't this an interesting development, if I may ask? When did you become a samurai, and when did you make captain? Asked Kakashi friendly-like with his traditional eye smile, since he wanted to keep them talking, since the longer they talked the better chance they had at convincing them to let him and the others help them. Since Kakashi knew that Nami no Kuni stood very little chance of beating the Kiri invasion force by themselves, and if Kiri took over Nami no Kuni, then all chance of Konoha surviving this war were gone. When I was 10, I decided I wanted to be able to protect my family and my people and be more like Inai-sama. This got confused looks from several of the Konoha members until Sakura told them that Naruto was like an older brother figure to Inari. But since there were no shinobi villages in our country, I decided to do the next best thing and be a samurai. My grandfather went to our daimyo and asked him to send me along with his selection of people who he would send to be trained as samurai. And since the daimyo owned my grandfather for building the bridge and helping to save our country, he agreed. I then spent the next 5 years training as hard as I could in Tetsu no Kuni to become a samurai so that I could defend everyone in Nami no Kuni just like Inai-sama would have. When I came back, I then spent the next 3 years working and training as hard as I could so to become captain and be leader of the daimyo samurai guard, answered Inari, to which Kakashi nodded since he was impressed with Inari, since he knew how hard Inari must have worked and trained to get where he was. Just like Naruto, huh? Though Kakashi sadly. Now about you coming to help us, spoke Tazuna, but before he could finish, Inari interrupted him. Grandfather, could I have a word in private with you? Said Inari casually, at which Tazuna nodded, knowing what this was about, as did the others, and he went into the tent with his grandson. Inside the command tent, Grandfather, you can't be seriously thinking of letting them stay and accept their help, whispered Inari harshly. I am, answered Tazuna. But how can we even trust them after what they done? Who's to say that when things get rough that they won't run away and destroy the bridge and leave the rest of you to be slaughtered? It wouldn't be the first time that Konoha has turned it back on someone for their own selfish needs, said Inari. We have to trust them since we need their help, said Tazuna. We can fight for ourselves, my men and I, as well as the other volunteers will fight them off, said Inari. Inari, stop deluding yourself. Although you and your men can hold your own in a fight against shinobis, especially when you all fight together, but there is not enough of you. You know that we're outnumbered and most of the men are militia. They won't stand a chance against shinobis, rounded Tazuna. But what about the message we sent to them? Surely they come after what we offered them, said Inari. We don't know that they will come, and even if they do, they may not arrive in time and Suna can't help us, since they're too far away to send help, and besides they are in the middle in their war against the ones that Konoha fighting against. We need all the help we can get, Inari, if we want to win this fight, answered Tazuna. But what about what they did to Inai-sama? How can we simply just forget how they banished him and sent him out to get killed? You know that I'm not the only person here that feels that way. The men will not want to fight alongside with the people from the very village that banished Inai-sama away to get killed, replied Inari angrily. Then you will have to get them to put aside their anger towards them, or for now at the very least, since remember most of the people in that group were against Naruto's banishment, said Tazuna. But what about Hatake, the Uchiha and Haruno? They're as guilty as the rest of those people back at that village for what they did, countered Inari. Look, Inari, I know how you feel. I don't like having them here any more than you do, and if this was any other time, I would be among the first people to throw them out of here. But we need them to help us, since with them here we stand a better chance of winning this fight than we do without them. We have to look past our hate and dislike for them and do what is best for our home and our people, said Tazuna earnestly. Inari just sighed, knowing that his grandfather was right even if he didn't like it. Fine, but I still don't like it, and there will be some conditions that they will have to agree to, said Inari, to which his grandfather just nodded and began to listen to his grandson's conditions. Outside the command tent, after a couple of minutes of waiting, both Inari and Tazuna came out of the tent. Hatake-san, is that offer still available? Asked Tazuna, to which Kakashi just nodded. Then we would like to accept your help against the invasion of our country, said Tazuna. This of course got many angry murmurs from many of the men around that had been listening to the conversation from the start. But the murmuring was quickly stopped when Inari ordered them to be silent. Very well then, my people, and I will start to set up our camp just outside yours, said Kakashi. Fine then, but there are some conditions that have to be met if you all are going to be here and fight alongside us, spoke Inari. Such as? Asked Kakashi. You and your people are not allowed to go near the bridge by yourselves. Also, as long as you and your people are here, your teams will have to answer to me or one of my lieutenants, and do what they are asked to do if they are needed to do something. If they do not, then you and your people will be forced out of our country. Another thing is that you have to inform me and go over any and all plans that you have for the defense of Nami no Kuni. In return, we will share our plans with you, spoke Inari with authority. At this, Sasuke decided to make his opinion known to everyone. We come here to help save your sorry excuse of a country. And you think that since you are in charge of this ragtag bunch of wannabes, warriors and samurai, that you can boss us around like everyone else? You got a lot of nerve, to say the least, kid. We never asked for your help, Uchiha. You all came to us, and to be quite frank, even if we had asked for your help from your village, we would have made damn certain to mention that we didn't want you to come. So if you want to leave, by all means go, we won't stop you. We would be even more than happy to throw you out of our country ourselves. So if you have a problem with taking orders from me, then go, but if not, you will kindly shut that trap of yours and do what you are told, stated Inari. After which many of the Konohanins began to smirk at seeing Sasuke being handled by Inari, and were quite impressed with how easily he could take charge and put Sasuke in his place. Sasuke just scowled and was about to retort when Kakashi interrupted him, so to avoid more trouble, since he could see from the looks of many of the men at the camp that they were just inching for a reason to attack them, and they did not come here to start trouble. Very well, Captain Inari, but I would also like it if you would go over whatever duties you would give my people with me before you have them do it, so that we can work together effectively and I can manage who dozes what. Also, if you are having a problem with one of my people, I would like you to report it to me, so that I can give the appropriate punishment to them, said Kakashi, at which he looked at Sasuke when he said the last part. At which Sasuke just looked away uncaring. Fine then, but if I'm not satisfied with the punishment, then I will have the person punish myself. Is that agreeable? Said Inari. That will be acceptable within reason, of course, replied Kakashi. Agreed. Now if it possible, some of my men could use some help laying down traps around the village for the Kirinins, since I'm sure that some shinobi traps would be very useful against them. Also, if it possible, some more of my men could do with some help setting up the defenses in the village itself, asked Inari. Of course, replied Kakashi, in which he then turned to Tenten. Tenten, could you have your team go out to the forest near the village and lay some traps, as well as a few more around other areas? To which Tenten nodded and had her team go while she stayed. Kakashi then turned to Sakura. Sakura, I want you, Moegi, Ino, and Udon to set up camp for the rest of us outside the main camp. To which Sakura and the others agreed and went off. Kakashi then turned to Neji. Neji, I like you, Choji, Lee, and Konohamaru to go to the village and help with the defenses inside. All four of them replied with a hi and left. Kakashi then turned to Hinata and her old teammates. Hinata-sama, I would like you and Shino as well as Kiba and Akamaru to scout out the terrain for a few miles around the village. Search for any Kiri scouts or advance teams just in case that Kiri sent in a team to disrupt any resistance to their invasion force. Also see if you can find any other areas or places that we can use to our advantage for traps of defensive purposes. All three then nodded and Akamura barked in understanding and left. After which he turned to Sasuke. Sasuke, I want your team to help Tenten's team to set up traps around the village. Sasuke narrowed his eyes slightly since he didn't like taking order from Kakashi like he was again and again, but decided to do what was asked of him and ordered his men to do it. After the teams were each given a job to do, Inari asked the team leaders to come into the tent to plan their defense of Nami no Kuni. Inside the command tent. Once everyone was inside the tent, Inari began to explain how he and his men were set up for the defense of their country. He explained that they had further forces and small forts and bases around their country. He also explained how the force here was their main force since the bridge was the key to the whole country. They believed that the Kiri invasion force would land near the village so to secure the bridge first. Since that was what they wanted most, and with the bridge under their control, they would have control of the main escape route out of the country. They could then quickly take over the country without much trouble, and have what they wanted, the bridge and the country. After Inari had finished explaining his forces' layout and the defenses he had taken around the bridge and the village, most of the Konoha team leaders were impressed with how the Nami no Kuni forces here had been set up. It was made so that even without their help the Kirinins would have a hard time taking the village as well as the country itself. Shikamaru even began to suggest some of his own ideas to help improve the village defenses, which Inari agreed to after hearing them. So how many men do you have here? Asked Shikamaru. We have 300 militia men and about 70 samurai here, answered Tazuna. That all? Asked the surprised Kuriani. I'm afraid so. Nami no Kuni does not have a real standing army other than the samurai who guard the daimyo palace. Even then he only has 100 of them. Inari was able to convince the daimyo to give him most of his men to help defend Nami no Kuni. Also considering that we do not have any professional warriors here in Nami no Kuni, the rest are just militia. We were able to gather about 1,200 men, and as we told you, most of them are scattered around the country in small bases and forts. So that if Kiri doesn't invade us from here, and invades us somewhere else, we can at least have some warning of where they are invading from, and give ourselves a chance to reorganize our forces and defenses to meet them. We have also gathered another 300 men, all of whom are former hunters and trappers in Nami no Kuni, set up in small caves and hidden areas in the forests in Nami no Kuni. We set them up as small cell groups so that if Nami no Kuni falls to Kiri, they can at least cause some trouble of the Kirinins by attacking supplied bases and making raids on their bases, as well as other guerrilla tactics to make things as hard for them as possible as long as they're here, spoke Tazuna. Shikamaru nodded in agreement with what Inari and Tazuna had done. What about the rest of you people? Where are all the women and children and other old people as well as your daimyo? Asked Yamato. Our daimyo was able to get the ruler of the large island nation in Kai no Kuni, Ocean Country, which is just south of Kaminari no Kuni, to agree to take him and our people in as refugees. They should be safe there since Kai no Kuni is in the protected waters of Kaminari no Kuni fleets. We also sent 200 of our militia men and the remaining 30 samurai to protect them should they be attacked by any pirates or Kiri raiding ships on the way. answered Tazuna. Although that was the correct move to make, it still does not change the fact that we're in a troublesome situation. Since even with our combined forces we are at a severe disadvantage, since together we have less than 400 defenders here, while Kiri's has twice that many. Also, it is most likely that many of the Kirinines will have their kunai launchers with them. Hence it makes them a lot harder to fight if we engage them in the village itself, which we will have no choice but to do. Since if we fight them in the forest or the open plain, we'd be slaughtered, since they could easily surround us with their larger numbers and we'd be butchered like cattle, said Shikamaru. We just have to do our best and outfight them when do arrive, said Inari. After Inari had finished speaking, Tenten decided to ask something that she had been wondering for a while. Excuse, Tazuna-san? Asked Tenten, which caused the man to look at her. But there's something that has been bothering me for a while. Which would be? He replied. How is it that you and your people were able to learn about the invasions, since we were able to only learn of it a few days ago? While it seems that you have known for much longer, we were able to learn of the invasion due to one of our fishermen went to Mizu no Kuni to sell some of his catch there. During which, when he went into a local fisherman bar, he overheard a group of sailors from Kiri fleet, who were drunk at the time, talking about invading our country. Also, another fisherman who was fishing near one of Mizu no Kuni military docks saw a large group of warships numbering about 20, being loaded with a large amount of equipment and men on them, answered Tazuna. Very well, then I believe that we should now help with the perpetrations of the defense against Kiri, spoke Kakashi, in which everyone agreed and began to leave the tent. Time skip. It had been 8 days since the Konoha group arrived, during which they all helped with setting up traps and building up defenses for the village. Yamato had used in Mokutan, wood element, ability to build a large wooden walls around the village. Shikamaru had helped plan the different positions they and the other defenders of Nami no Kuni should be. Neji, Shino, and Hinata each took turns to keep lookout on the shore for the arrival of any Kiri warships, in case the fleet arrived sooner than expected or that Kiri would send an advance party to weaken Nami no Kuni defenses. Tenten and her team, as well as Sasuke and his team, helped to set up more traps around the village so to confuse and weaken the Kirinines when they arrive. Kiba and Akamaru did patrols around the camp and the village as well as the nearby forest just in case so Kiri spies sneak past Neji, Hinata, or Shino. Sakura helped to set up a small medical center for any wounded that would appear in the coming battle when it starts. As for everyone else, each of them helped out in their own way, but even despite this, the Konoha group were still subjected to angry glares and hateful looks. It was clear that even after Inari had spoken to the men and got them to agree to work with the Konohanines, it still did not change the strong dislike that the men had for them. This, of course, did not help the morale of the group, since many were depressed after a few days of being ignored for the majority of time, or being glared at by others. This, of course, also gave them an idea of what it was like for Naruto when he was growing up, even if it wasn't even a tenth of what he went through. It was after their 8th day in being Nami no Kuni that Hinata went over to speak to Inari about something she had been looking for several days in her spare time. Excuse me, Inari Shirai. Shirai means commander. Yes, Hyuga-san, answered Inari. I was wondering if I could speak to you about a private matter, if I could? Asked Hinata. At which the young samurai captain nodded his head and led her to his tent, where he then sat down and invited her to sit as well in the seat in front of him. Now, Hyuga-san, what is it that you wish to speak to me in private about? Asked Inari. I was hoping, Inari Shirai, that you could tell me where Naruto-kun Gravesite is, answered Hinata. At this, Inari then began to frown and spoke again. Why do you want to know where his gravesite is? Because if you or any other Konohanines intend to desecrate his gravesite, I spoke Inari harshly, but before he could finish speaking he was interrupted with a powerful burst of killing intent. At which, when Inari looked at Hinata, a black aura of death seemed to emanate from her, and when he looked right into her lavender eyes, he saw a cold, wrathful fury emanating from them that made him feel as if he was staring at death itself. It was as if she was looking into his very soul and would rip it out. It took every ounce of courage and self-restraint that he had to not flinch or wither under her glare, which would have greatly impressed many shinobis if they had seen him, since Hinata could even make Jiraiya himself wither under her harsh gaze. After a moment or so, Hinata then spoke again in a voice that was so cold that it sent a silent chill down his spine. For that insult alone I would kill you, Inari-san, for I have killed many others for far less. I would never do such a horrendous thing as desecrate the gravesite of the only man I ever loved, and I would kill anyone who even tried to in the slowest and most painful manner a man or woman could ever suffer. As she finished speaking, the killing intent died down, and Hinata gazed lessened although the coldness was still there. After the killing intent died down, Inari let a silent breath loose that he had been unknowingly holding. Hyuga's Shikyo no Megami. Hyuga's goddesses of death, indeed, thought Inari with a slight shiver since he had heard Hinata's infamous reputation. For even though he was a samurai, it did not mean he would not keep tabs on strong shinobis, in case he should ever have to face them in battle. Taking a deep breath and settling his nerves, Inari then spoke. I apologize, Hinata-sama, for my harsh words and my insult to you. Since I sometime let my anger against your village control me, I'm well aware of the fact that you and most of your company were close friends with Inai-sama, and were against him being banished. It is just that when I see the Konoha headband, I see red and my anger takes a hold of me, and I lash out on any Konoha ninja that I see regardless of who they are. I accept your apology, Inari Shirai, for I understand your feelings all too well, but a word of advice, Inari Shirai. I suggest that you learn to control your anger towards my village, and not let your anger towards the majority of the civilian population, and the large number of shinobis in Konoha control you. Since there were a few others who did not agree with Naruto-kun banishment, and if you just start lashing out you anger and rage out against all Kono shinobis, then you become no better than the ones who made Naruto-kun suffer. Spoke Hinata. Wise words, Hinata-sama, I shall try and follow them, replied Inari, to which Hinata just nodded. Now Inari Shirai, as I was saying, I was wondering if you could tell me where Naruto-kun gravesite was? Asked Hinata. For a minute or two, Inari said, noting he just closed his eyes and began to think deeply and weighing the options. After about 5 minutes of deep thinking, Inari came to decision, after which he let out a deep sigh and looked at Hinata and spoke. What you asked is not easy for me to give, and if my men heard about this there would be much uproar about it, but I will allow it. At this a small smile graced Hinata's face. Thank Inari Shirai, you have no idea how much this means to me. Hinata was then about to ask Inari where Naruto gravesite was, but before she could, Inari interrupted her. But I'm afraid there is a condition. What condition would that be, Inari Shirai? Asked Hinata with a slight frown. Before I tell you, am I correct in assuming that if I told you where Inai-sama gravesite was, that other members of your company would also wish to go with you to pay their own respects to Inai-sama? Asked Inari, to which Hinata nodded, since she was certain that most of the others would want to go, excluding Sasuke and his root mongrels. Then the conditions are simple. The first is that when you visit the gravesite, you will be accompanied by 20 of my samurai who will then lead you to the gravestone. The second is that when my samurai lead you to the gravesite, you will be blindfolded, and give a special drug that we samurai are all give, in case we take shinobi or samurai prisoners. The drug will keep you from using your chakra, since although I'm willing to trust you and certain members of your company, I am not willing to do the same for others. This of course leads me to my third and final condition, which is why you have to be blindfolded. The condition is that the members of the former Team 7, which contained Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, as well as Yamanaka Ino and the 2 shinobis that follow Uchiha Sasuke orders, are not to be allowed to visit Inai-sama gravesite. The reason being that each of them had a part, whether small or large, in Inai-sama's suffering and neglect, hence they are not permitted to visit his gravesite. Also, the reason why the 2 shinobi under Uchiha Sasuke command are not allowed is that they do not do anything without his orders, and I'm certain that if they went they would inform him where Inai-sama gravesite is, where there would be a good chance he would destroy it just to spite Inai-sama. Also, this is the reason why you are blindfolded, since you and the other members of your company may feel compelled to tell Hatake, Haruno, or Yamanaka where his gravestone is. So will you and the others agree to these terms? Said Inari. At first Hinata said, noting since she knew that some of the others would not like this. But she knew this was the only way she was going to be able to visit Naruto gravesite. Very well, Inari Shirai, I will agree to your terms and I will inform my comrades of the conditions, but I cannot say if they will all agree or not. Spoke Hinata. That is acceptable, but you should also tell that if they do not agree to my terms then they will not be permitted to go. Also, if they try and follow or force their way to come, my samurai will have permission to use force to stop them and subdue them. Is that understood, Hinata-sama? Said Inari. Yes, it is, Inari Shirai. I shall make sure to inform them, and thank you again for allowing me the chance to visit Naruto-kun gravesite. said Hinata, after which she then stood up from her seat and did a slight bow to Inari, as a sign of respect and gratitude to him, which Inari returned as well. When Hinata left his tent, Inari let out another sigh of relief and exhaustion, and had only one thought go through his mind: I need a drink. Where then he went to his private cabinet, opened a secret drawer, and took out a bottle of sake, in which he poured it into a small drinking plate, and drank it in one gulp to steady his nerves. After his talk with Hyuga Hinata, aka the Hyuga Shikyo no Megami, the next day, in the early hours of the morning, Inari and 20 other samurai walked out of the Nami no Kuni Defense Force camp. When Inari first selected the men, he chose his most skilled and trusted men so to make sure that they would follow his orders and that they could handle themselves in a fight should anything happen. After he had selected them, he informed them of what was going to happen and what they were to do. Naturally, none of the men were pleased with what they had to do, but would do as they were ordered like any true samurai. Inari and his men did not have to wait long though, as they soon saw most of the Konoha company leave their small camp and headed towards them. When they arrived, Inari saw that everyone minus Sasuke and his men, as well as Ino, Sakura, Kakashi, and Yamato were there. When Hinata had first told the company that they were allowed to visit Naruto gravesite, most of them were naturally happy that they could finally pay their respects to Naruto grave, even if it was an empty one. But that quickly disappeared when Hinata told the of Inari conditions. Since Kakashi, Ino, and Sakura weren't allowed to go, Sasuke just stated that he wouldn't waste his time, and then left to go for a walk while the two root members just went to their tents. Many in the company felt that if they went blindfolded and took the drug, they would be vulnerable and be at the mercy of the Nami samurai. But eventually Hinata was able to convince them, since it was the only way any of them could visit Naruto gravestone and pay their respects. Since Hinata knew that Inari would not compromise on any of his conditions, it was also decided that 10-10 team would take over as lookouts while Yamato, Kakashi, Ino, Sakura, as well as Sasuke and his men would help with setting up the remaining defenses for the village. When the group met with Inari and his men, they all took the pill that would keep them from using their chakra. Fortunately, the drug only lasted a few hours, so none of them had to worry about any after effects. They then put on the blindfolds, after which a samurai grabbed hold of a member of the Konoha, so to make sure that they would follow them, while the remaining 6 samurai acted as guard, where 3 of them lead the way to Naruto gravestone, and the other 3 watched the rear so to make sure that no one would follow them. After about an hour of walking, the group finally stopped where the samurai finally removed their blindfolds. When the blindfolds were taken off, the Konoha group could not but be in awe at what they were seeing. They saw that they were in a large clearing surrounded by trees with several different types of flowers that grew on them. The petals of the flowers blew off the tree from the gentle breeze and gently showered the large clearly with petals. In the middle of the clearing was a large pond with clear crystal water, where one could easily see into the shallow water. In the middle of the large pond was a small little island with a large oak tree on it, and under it was a large gravestone which was Naruto's. The little island was large enough for the tree and for the gravestone, and a small group of people to stand around the tree and the gravestone. There was even about 12 pure white stones set like a path for people to hop on so to get to the small island and the gravestone. All in all, the place was a beautifully. You will all be allowed to go and pay your respects to Naruto-sama gravestone, but you can only go one at a time, so you can choose to whom goes first. Also on the gravestone is a special seal that the Kazekage brother put on it. The seal is a preservation seal which keeps the weather from destroying the gravestone, so do not touch it. One more thing, the men and I will surround the pond, and although we won't be able to hear you, we will be able to see whatever you do. So if you try anything to harm the gravestone, you will regret it," spoke the leader of the samurai group sternly. "Very well, we understand," spoke Kuriani respectfully, to which the samurai leader only nodded, and he and his men went into position around the pond. Soon enough the group decided that Lee would go first, where he then quickly hopped on the stones that lead to Naruto gravestone and stood in front of it. On the gravestone he saw the inscription written on the gravestone: Uzumaki Naruto, hero of Nami no Kuni, hero of Nara/Yuki no Kuni, hero of Takigakure, and unsung hero of Konoha, a true hero who died before his time. May he find the peace and happiness in the next life that he never found in this one. With Lee. When Lee finished reading what was written on the white marble gravestone, he could not help but smile sadly, since it was a fitting moment for his friend. Even though the people of Konoha did not regard him as the hero that he was, He was a hero to other people in other countries. Greeting my youthful friend Naruto. I do not know if you can hear me from the heavens for which I know you are in. But I like to think that you can both hear and see us now down up from the heavens. Said Lee, know that I have achieved my dream of becoming a splendid ninja of Konoha and have proved that even the dead last, who is unable to use chakra, can become a great ninja as any person. Just like I promised you I would. But even still I have not stopped training and working hard to get stronger, which I know you would too if you were alive now. Also know that I now have a wife and a beautiful daughter named Fuku, who flames of youth already burn brightly, much like your own. My beloved flower Yakumo was also much like you. She was isolated and feared by many, due to her having a demon inside her like you, my friend. But thanks to Jiraiya-sama and the Hokage-sama, they were able to help her where she became a splendid ninja, even despite her having a weak body and only really being able to do genjutsu. I hope you are happy wherever you are, my friend. Also know that I make a new vow that I will not stop training hard and that I will not rest until the day where you are regarded as the hero you are in Konoha. Just like you are here and in the other countries that see you as 1 inch. After which Lee then took out a spare pair of orange leg holders that he had in his hip pouch. He then put them on one of the branches of the oak tree, along with other items that people had left as gifts to Naruto. I know how much you like the youthful color orange, my friend, so I hope you like them, said Lee, after which he then left, with Neji. Greetings Naruto-san. I will not deny that I do not really believe that you can hear from the afterlife. But I've been told that the dead can, and even if they cannot, it can help those who have lost a friend or a loved one. Hence I would like to believe that you can indeed hear my words from the afterlife. Spoke Neji. Even though you died before you could fulfill your promise to free that branch house members from the Hyuga Soke no Junjutsu, Hyuga main family's curse seal technique. Branch house members have been freed and the Hyuga clan has been reunited thanks to Hinata-sama. So in a way you did keep your promise, since it was because of Hinata-sama feelings for you that she grew stronger and became clan head of the Hyuga clan. Although Hinata-sama has changed in a way that worries me at times, she still remains in some aspect the kind person we both knew her as, and her feelings for you has never changed whether you now know of them or not. Back at the Chunin exam you told me once that you knew what it was like to have a cursed seal marked onto your body without your consent. I never truly understood what you meant until the day you were officially banished from Konoha, and the Konoha Council released the information about the QB being sealed in you, as well as when I learned of the harsh childhood you suffered when you were young. You were truly a far stronger and better person than I am, Naruto, since you went through all that hardship and always kept a smile on your face regardless of what happened to you. I know I myself would not have been able to withstand what you went through. Also know that my uncle Hiyashi has paid for his crimes against you and Hinata-sama, for when Hinata defeated him to become clan head. He saw what kind of a monster he was, and even despite what he had done I cannot help but pity him, since he is nothing more than a broken shell of a man. If you were alive right now, Naruto, I'd believe you would probably forgive him despite what he did to you, since you were always a kind and forgiving person. Spoke Neji, after which like Lee he went to his hip pouch and took out his old ninja headband that he wore when he fought against Naruto in the Chunin exam. After placing the folded headband on a tree branch, Neji looked back down at Naruto's gravestone and spoke again. A token of respect, my friend, to when you changed my life for the better, where you showed me that our fates are not written in stone like I once believed. You showed me that we can write our fates and shape our own destiny. You fought the destiny of becoming a monster that the people of Konoha were trying to turn you into, thanks to their ignorant hate and stupidity. You fought that destiny and won and became a hero to many different nations. I only wish you could have proven me wrong about you becoming Hokage, for if you had I would never have been happier to be proven wrong about something than then, said Neji sadly as he bowed down slightly and then left, with Choji. Hey Naruto, it's been a while, things sure have changed since you left. We're at war right now, and although we're holding our own right now, there are a good chance we will lose, since we are outnumbered and short of everything. Also, the place just doesn't seem to be as lively or as happy as it uses to be with you gone. I am an old man Tenchi, miss you a lot and always talk about you. They even named a ramen dish after you and it's great, it's called the Uzumaki Supreme Special. You would have loved it. I really wish you were here right now, Naruto, we could have used your help. I also kind of miss our ramen eating contest. You were the only person outside my clan that could out-eat me in something. said Choji, after which he took out a pairing of chopsticks and a ramen bowl and placed it right in front of Naruto's gravestone. This is a gift from Tenchi and me as a reminder of all the good times we had at the ramen stand, said Choji with a few tears in his eyes, after which he left with Shikamaru. Hey Naruto, it seems you're as troublesome as you are dead as you were alive, making us come all this way and go all through this hassle just to go to your gravestone. As some of the other have probably already told you, we're at war right now, and it seems that things are only going to get more troublesome in the future. Hell, things have becoming all the more troublesome ever since those idiots on the council had you banished. Simply because you brought back the Uchiha and used the Kyuubi's power to do it, and tried to use you to save their own sorry asses from the Akatsuki, which in the end only gave the Akatsuki the Kyuubi and got you killed. Troublesome idiots. You may or may not know this, but I was able to beat some sense into Ino after you left, since she was being an even more troublesome blonde that she usually was. Since after you left and the news of you having the Kyuubi in you came out, she started to believe what a lot of those troublesome idiot civilians believed. But I was able to slap some sense into her when I had enough of her, where I then slapped her and then verbally torn into her about how much of an idiot she was and at how weak she was. It was probably the only time I ever saw her lost for words. After that she changed and was sorry what she had done. She stopped being so troublesome and actually got stronger. She now even married to this new guy named Sai. He not so troublesome, nor is he too bad, since he likes to insult Sasuke wherever he can, so I say that gives him a few points. Although I don't know how he can stand to be married to a troublesome woman like Ino. Ino wanted to be here, but the people here knew about some of the bad things that she did to you, so they refused to allow her to come along with Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke. Not that much of loss. Also, I'm married as well. She not as troublesome as my mother or some other women that I know, so we get along fine. We're even expecting a kid, and if it a boy, we're going to call him Asuma. Also, if you see Asuma-sensei up there, tell him that Ino, Choji, Konohamaru and I are making sure that both his son Hiruzen and Kuriani are okay, and I make sure that he becomes a great ninja just like he was, spoke Shikamaru. After which he then took out a small polished steel plate with the words, Uzumaki Naruto, hero of Konoha and friend to all. This is from Tsunade since she couldn't be here like she wanted to be, spoke Shikamaru, after which he put the plate on a thick branch and then left. After Shikamaru left, he was followed by Guy, who left a green bodysuit like his and Lee's and left it under the tree. When Guy left, Kuriani went and put some incense at Naruto's gravestone with Tenten. After Kuriani and Guy each paid their respects, and Tenten then went up to the gravestone. Hello Naruto. It'd been a long time. Although this was not the way I wanted to meet you again, I guess that this will be as close as any of us will ever get. Talking to you like this feels kind of weird to me, but it also comforting in a way. Although you and I did not know each other as well as we should have, considering the amount of times that you came to my family shop. I always considered you a good person, even after I learned that you had the Kyuubi inside of you. That did not change my opinion of you. When I heard that about you, it just told me how much stronger you were than any of us. I remember the day you first came to my parents' shop. You spent ages looking at all the different types of weapons and the coolest looking ones as well. When you finally picked out some simple kunais and shurikens and exploding notes, and I told up the amount. I saw how ashamed you were when you realized that even though you bought the cheapest things we got, you still did not have enough money. When my dad came around and offered to give you a discount, you refused since you did not want any pity from anyone. Soon after, you made a deal with him that you buy the things you wanted without whatever money you could spare and then work of the rest with my dad working in the shop. During that time, I'm ashamed that I never tired to get to know you, even though we talked a little. I never really tired to be your friend. I always made the excuse that I was too busy with helping my parents and training with my team to even try. And in a way, I just believed that you were just some nobody orphan kid that was trying to make himself big. I didn't even try and support you or cheer for you a little when you fought Neji. I just believed since Neji was from a noble clan and that he was a natural prodigy that no one in Chunin exam could beat him. But yet you proved me wrong and you changed Neji for the better. After that day, I decided to try to get to know you better, since you were clearly a person who was more than they appeared to be. And although we did become friends, I never got to know the real you. The one who was lonely and who was suffering from the inside because no one tired to get to know him. And I did not learn about the real you until you were gone, and for that I sorry Naruto. I'm sorry that I did not try to be a better friend to you. spoke Tenten sadly, after which she took out a silver kunai, similar to the set that she first gave Naruto when he was banished, and left it right next to the bowl that Choji left on the gravestone. I don't know what happened to the set my family and I gave you, Naruto, but like with that set, this kunai is a token from my family, as well as a symbol, since like this kunai you were far stronger than you appeared to be. You were probably the strongest shinobi out of any of us here. To go what you went through all your life and still smile and remain a good person, and for that I admire you, said Tenten sadly as she left, with Konohamaru. Hey boss, I never thought that I ever have to talk to you like this. Even though this isn't where you are really buried, since we never found your body, but this is the best we can do. I always hoped that one day I would become Hokage and that I would find a way to bring you back to Konoha where you belong. But that will never happen, thanks to those Akatsuki bastards. And thanks to those bastards on the council who had you banished in the first place and sent you to your death. I also haven't forgotten the promise I made to you, which I would become Hokage for the both of us, and I will do it no matter what. I even followed your last orders, had gave those council member bastards hell, as well as everyone in the village who made your life hard hell. You should have seen what I did to Kohara with the Inuzuka dogs or the Hyuga clan and their underwear. It was brilliant, you would have loved it, laughed Konohamaru. I really miss you boss, it just hasn't been the same without you. The council is trying to make that bastard Sasuke Hokage, but even if the last thing I do, I won't let him become one, since he would only disgrace everything that Hokage stood for, and what you believed in, and I'm sure Bachan would agree as well. Oh, and another thing, guess what, I'm getting married next year, if you can believe it. I'm getting married to Hyuga Hanabi, Hinata's younger sister. You wouldn't have believed it if you had seen when we first met each other, since we couldn't stand each other. But eventually we grew close after we got to know one another better, and after while we started to date, and a few months ago I asked her to marry me. I think you would have liked her boss, since she not like Hinata when she was younger, where Hinata was shy. Hanabi was a firecracker, since she never let anyone push her around and could be as fierce as hell. Also know this boss, I won't let these Kiri bastards that are invading here take over this country, since this is one of the places that regards you as the hero that you were, and I know you cared for the people here. So these Kiri bastards won't get their dirty hands on it, and that a promise believe it, spoke Konohamaru, after which he then took out the old pair of goggles that Naruto used to wear and gave to him after Naruto became a genin. Here you are boss, I told you I returned this to you, and like you I always keep my promises, said Konoha with tears in his eyes when he put the goggles next to the gravestone. After Konohamaru left, Moegi and Udan each went to pay their respects to Naruto, where like Konohamaru they each left their old goggles next to Naruto's gravestone. With Kiba. After Moegi and Udan had each paid their respects to Naruto, Kiba and Akamaru went to Naruto gravestone. Yo Naruto, it's been a long time, never thought I ever have to talk to you like this. Have to say I never believe I would say this, but I kind of miss you. Things have been really messed up since you left. A lot of countries that Konoha used to be friends with or allied with annulled their treaties with us, after they heard that the council had you banished. After that Asuma got killed and left Kuriani-sensei and their son alone, although Hinata, Shino and me, as well as Konohamaru, Ino, Choji and Shikamaru all tried to help her out to take care of her son. Not only that, but we are at war with Oto and Iwa again, not to mention with Kiri and Kusa as well as the Hanya clan. So basically our backs are against the wall, since Suna is the only ally we have left, and that's only because they have a score to settle with Orochimaru. Since like the rest of our allies they weren't happy with you being banished. But despite that, all of us in the group have come up far. Shino and I are in charge of the Oinin division, Tenten is in charge of the assassination division, Ino along with Lee Waifu Kumo are in line where either will become the leader of interrogation division. Choji is high up in the demolished division where he may become the next leader of it. Shikamaru is Jonin commander and is head of tactical operations for the war. Sakura is one of Konoha top mednins. Konohamaru is Sasuke rival to be the next Hokage, and let's hope he beats the bastard, since if he become Hokage I may just become a missing nin. Lee becomes a fairly top-ranking shinobi, and Hinata had become the clan head after she beat the shit out of that bastard of a father Hiashi. After which she then got rid of the Hyuga Soke no Jinjutsu and made Neji head of the Hyuga Council. Hinata really changed a lot since you were killed, Naruto. She's not really the same person she used to be. At first I didn't notice, but after a while I saw that she became distant from us. I tried to talk to her but she wouldn't open up. She even tried to kill herself when she first heard about you being killed and would have died had Neji not found her in time. After she defeated Hiashi, she acted cold and indifferent to most people, while to the rest of us she acted like her kind self, although we know this is an act on her part. Since when you died, that kind gentle side died as well, although she still cares for both of us and for her patients whenever she works in the hospital. But she just not the same, she seems lonely. You may not have known this being the knucklehead you were, although I can't really comment since it took a while for me to find out while everyone else knew, but the thing is, Hinata was in love with you. Hence why that kind and gentle part of Hinata died with you, and I'm afraid that the old kind and gentle Hinata will never return with you gone. If you were still alive, I know you could bring back the old Hinata," spoke Kiba sadly, after which he then took out a small photo of him, Naruto, Choji and Shikamaru back when they were younger and in the academy. When Kiba looked at it, he could not help but smile sadly at the good times they had back when they were younger. And in a way some guilt was felt by Kiba when he looked at the photo. Since although Naruto was smiling in the photo, the picture still remained him of the hard life Naruto used to have when he was younger. And that Kiba didn't make it any easier for him, where he used to join the kids in teasing Naruto when he didn't get something right. Kiba knew he had not been much of a friend to Naruto when they were younger, and he often wished he had been better friends with him back then. Kiba then nailed the photo on the tree trunk, and while he was doing that, Akamaru went up to Naruto's gravestone and pawed gently at the headstone and whined a little since he too missed Naruto. "I know, boy, I miss him too," said Kiba when he turned and patted Akamaru gentle on the head, after which he then started walking away, but before he left he turned back to the gravestone. "I'd be seeing you, Naruto, someday. When my time is up, but hopefully that won't be for a while still," joked Kiba before he went back to the others, with Shino greeting Naruto-san. Although like many others, I myself do not really believe that talking to the gravestone of deceased person will allow them to hear you, since the entire process is illogical. But regardless of that, I do believe that it can help one cope with the loss of a friend or loved one. Although you and I never truly knew each other, Naruto-san, I always felt that you were more than you seemed to be, and I did regard you as a comrade and friend. Before I learned of you harboring the Kyuubi spirit inside your body, I knew that in some way we were alike. Since I had witnessed some parts of your harsh life where the older generation civilians and many other shinobi looked at you with disdain and anger. Like you, my clan and myself have felt or suffered similar looks by people for what we contained. But despite that, we had never endured the hardships that you had. For enduring such hardships and never giving up and continuing to go on, and despite the difficulties, you have my deepest respects and admiration. My only regret right now is that I did not try to get to you better, Naruto-san, since in a way we were kindred spirits. Both of contain living being inside of us, and have suffered the harsh gazes of people who do not understand us just because of what we hold. I can only hope now that you found peace in the next life that was stolen from you in this one. And although I have no gift to offer you, I will say a silent prayer for your spirit," spoke Shino, after which he remained silent and still for about 2 or 3 minutes before he left. With Sai, after Shino had left, Sai decided to go next. "Greetings, Naruto-san. Although you and I never meet, I have heard a great deal about you from your friends. Like you, I too am an orphan, and I was subjected to a harsh upbringing by my master Danzo, who took me in to be one of his hidden weapons. Although I cannot go into detail as to what kind of training or upbringing I had under Lord Danzo, I can say in some aspects it was as harsh as your own young life. But lucky, after you were banished, I was assigned to your teammate, where I met your other friends who were able to help me to regain my humanity in a way. You yourself helped me by the stories that your friends told me about you, and it was thanks to those stories that gave me the hope that I could have more in life than to be just Lord Danzo's servant and weapon. From the stories I was told of you, I was reminded of a person very close to me named Shin, who was very much like you in a way and was a brother to me in everything but blood. Also, the reason I am here is to deliver a message from Ino-chan, Sakura-san and Kakashi-san, who were not allowed to come due to their past sins against you. They wished to say how sorry they were for what they had done against you, and they know that no matter how much they say it, that it cannot make up for what they done, but they still wish to say it. They say that they hope one day that they can find some way of making up for what they have done against you, and if not, that you could find it in your heart to forgive them even if they may not deserve it. They also say that even if you did, they would be unable to forgive themselves," said Sai, after which he took out a small painting portrait from his hip pouch The painting was one of a smiling Naruto in his orange jumpsuit and him wearing the Hokage hat. Sai then nailed the portrait on the tree underneath the photo that Kiba put on, and then went back to the gravestone. "This is my gift to you, Naruto-san, and I hope you are happy wherever you are," said Sai as he then left, with Hinata. After Sai joined the group, Hinata, being the last, went to pay her respects to Naruto gravestone. "Hello Naruto-kun. I often wished I could see and speak to you again after you were banished. I even dreamed at times that you would return to Konoha so that I could finally tell you how I feel about you, but that dream never came true. That is probably the greatest regret that I have, that you left before I could tell you that I was in love with you. That I would have been willing to join you in banishment, and leave my clan just to be with you. I would give almost anything just to have you here with me for just 5 minutes. But I know that all the wishing in the world cannot bring up back to me. When I first heard you had died, I had almost given up on living and I just wanted to be with you, since if I could not be with you in this life, I could at least be with you in the next. But when I tired, I was saved by Neji, and he and Kuriani sensei along with Hanabimuto told me that would not have wanted me to end my own life, and they were right. Since if I did I would be given up, and you taught me never to give up. On that day that I was training with Hiashi, and he told me how weak I was and insulted and mocked you, and how you were a fool to believe that you could be Hokage. It was that day that I made a vow that I would become stronger to show him that he was wrong, to prove him wrong about me, to make him pay for what he put me through, for sending you away and destroying your dream of becoming Hokage, for ending any chance that I could have had to be with you, to end the corruption that had crippled my clan for generations, and to tear down the wall that divided it once and for all. For 3 years I trained with Tsunade Sensei after begging her to train me. For 3 years I worked myself to the brink of exhaustion, and every time I wanted to give up I thought of you. You encouraged me back in the Chunin exams and believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. I knew that if you were in my place you would never have given up, and like you I made a promise to myself to grow stronger, and I never go back on my promise. In the end, all the training had hard work paid off. I defeated Hiashi and became clan head. I rid my clan of the Hyuga no Juinjutsu, and rid the council of the corrupt members that crippled it by not willing to accept change when it was coming. I was able to do this only because of you, Naruto-kun, because you believed in me when I or others didn't. And you taught me never to give up, and you always inspired me to do my best no matter what. For that I make this new vow that I will not let Kiri take over and destroy this country that regards you as the hero that you are. Even if I have to give up my life to keep them from desecrating this land and your gravestone, I will gladly do it," sighed Hinata as she then kneeled down and left a single white orchid at the bottom of the gravestone. "Know, Naruto-kun, that my feelings for you will never change, and I will never love anyone else other than you," said Hinata with 2 small tears falling from each eye, and before she got back on her feet she kissed the gravestone softly, and then turned around wiping the tears away so that no one could see that she was crying. After Hinata joined the group, the samurai went over to them and blindfolded them again, and led them back to the camp. The next day in the Raikage office. Currently in the Raikage office, the Raikage was sitting behind his desk, where he was in the middle of a meeting with Yorichi, Soifun, Hayabusa Ryu, Akechi Mitsuhide, Miyoshi Sayuri, Shuga Liang and Seiwa Anasu. The meeting they were having was about an operation that they were about to launch, that would help put the odds in Kumo's and the Heavenly Alliance favor. As they were discussing the details of the operations, they were suddenly interrupted by the double doors opening and the Raikage's secretary Ise Nanao entering. Ise Nanao was a youthful young woman with black hair that she normally kept pinned back. She has blue eyes and wore glasses. She also wore a white shitage with a black kosode and a black hakama. "Nanao, what is the meaning of this interruption?" asked the Raikage rather sternly, since he had asked Nanao to make sure that he was not disturbed during this meeting. "Forgive me, Raikage-sama, but I just received this message from a messenger from Ankai no Kuni who said it was from the daimyo of Nami no Kuni, who as you already know is currently staying there with most of his people," replied Nanao as she handed the scroll in her hand to the Raikage. When the Raikage looked at the scroll, he saw it was indeed from the daimyo from Nami no Kuni, since it had both his own family personal seal and the seal of Nami no Kuni. He then quickly broke the seal and read it. After about 5 minutes he finished reading it and smiled. "Well now, this certainly makes things easier," said the Raikage as he handed it to his former sensei Zhuge Liang, after which he then handed to the others who all each took turns reading it. When they had all finished reading the scroll they all smiled, since they all knew that their operation in Nami no Kuni would go a lot easier now, with the country's people asking for aid against the invasion of Kirigakure. So Raikage-sama, what will we do now? Will we go ahead with the Operation Sea Wall, the name of the operation, as we planned? Asked Anasu. Yes, we will, but there will be one small change of plan. I will go there personally myself. Chuga Liang Sensei, you will lead the expedition force, while I go ahead of the expedition force in the Suzaku. While I'm away, Anasu, you are in charge of things here. Ryu and Yoruchi will continue with your work on things for Operation Clean Sweep. Mitsuhide Sensei, you and Sayuri Sensei will help Shibuki with setting up Operation Judgment. Soifun, you and your people go and deal with that toad infestation that our patrols informed us of. Spoke the Raikage. Hi, they all replied and left. Things are certainly getting more and more interesting, thought the Raikage with a slight smile as he left his office to get ready for his journey to Nami no Kuni. 2 days later in the command tent. Currently in the command tent, Inari, Tazuna and the Konoha team leaders were having their meeting on any more tactical or strategic planning they could make before the invasion begins, since the fleet was about a day away for Kiri. During the meeting, Neji suddenly came into the tent running. Neji-kun, why have you interrupted our meeting? It is very unyouthful of you to interrupting a meeting without announcing yourself first. Spoke Guy. My apologies, Guy-sensei, but I have just come back from my lookout station at the coastal shore just outside the village, where I saw the Kiri invasion fleet coming out from the morning mist of the horizon. Are you certain of this? Spoke Inari urgently, to which Neji just nodded. Damn! They're a day early, said Inari angrily. How long will it been before that arrive at the coastal shore, Neji? Asked Kakashi. I would have to say about 2 to 3 hours before their forces begin to land, replied Neji. Good, then that gives us a little time to get ready, spoke Yamato while Kakashi nodded in agreement. Alright then, Kakashi, you go get your people ready and I get mine, since the battle for Nami no Kuni is about to begin, spoke Inari, to which Kakashi just nodded again and left with the other team leaders. And let us hope that we can survive it, thought Inari as he grabbed his samurai helmet and left to marshal his force to defend their homeland. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.